Hello, everybody. Blair Nightingale here with Dave Huber. We are live with you. We're both out of studio today, Dave. We're not normally in here on a Friday. Markets are open, and we're rocking and rolling. So,
welcome to my home. I'm coming at you live from the studio office here in Mahia, Texas, and yeah, it's good to be live once more. We got some things to talk about. You'll notice our title is Trading Through the Storm, Wisdom, War Rooms, and Weekend Prep. How does all that tie together? A lot of things going on, right? We had Pete Hegseth give a speech to our military. That was well received by some, not so much by others. And we had President Trump come in and address the military right on his heels. And it was actually quite a humorous speech if you get a chance to listen to it. He is in true Trump form. But, there were a couple of things the media is picking up on that they're saying, threatening bad, and it might spook people to hear what the media says about it. And it might make you think, the market's going to crash on this. This is spooky news. We're going to talk a little bit about what it is and why it's not so spooky. But then also one of the things that we want to get kind of out of the way is we're going into a weekend with all these things going on, government shutdown, Trump addressing the military, saying things like we're doing training in military U.S. cities. That's what people are going, what? Wait, well, that's always been happening. That's always been done. So it's not that scary. But all these things occurring, Blair, and now we're going into a weekend. How's it going to affect next week's trading? So how do we prepare over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, here's one of my things. I'm just going to share my chart here, and I'll actually pull it off the screen for a sec, and we'll come back to it here in a minute. Welcome, first of all, everybody. We got our friends here on YouTube. Alfonso, hello to you as well, and on Facebook. Okay, so we appreciate you guys hanging with us. We're like, how do we prepare for the weekend? What do traders do when the market is closed? The reality is that as traders, we learn, honestly, that we need to be doing more when the market is closed than really when it's open. Now,
that's surprising to a lot of people, Blair, because it's like, what can you even do when the market's closed? How can I do more? Exactly. I didn't even know there was something I could do, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. While the stock market can be treated like it's a casino, traders don't treat it like a casino. Now, when you gamble, you just flip the coin. There's nothing you can do. It just is what it is. And hopefully it's what you wanted it to be. That's gambling. We don't gamble. Trading is not gambling. Okay. Many of you have heard me say that, heard Dave say that, but some of you have never heard anyone say that, especially Christians. Christians are concerned. Well, it seems like it's a powerful way to leverage my money, but is it gambling? So I won't go too far down that road, except to say that if we think it is, then we're kind of just victims. It's entertainment. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. That's not trading. Trading has a learnable step-by-step skill that we need to apply. Now, we don't know the future. That's true. But we know what to do even though we don't know what the future is. That's the difference. But we have to learn, and we've been talking about this all week, the four main skills that traders have. So one of the things is that we are going to find not possibility in the market, but probability in the market. What is an environment in the market that you and I can look at on our laptop, computer, even phone? I prefer the laptop, but phone is possible, where you go, okay, I have identified objective things. They don't tell me the future, but they tell me that I'm looking at a high probability price environment, not just a high possibility. Amateurs chase possibility. Masters, traders choose probability. That's the difference. So when we say actually, government shutdown this week, Dave, has the government shutdown mattered to Wall Street at all so far?
If you look at the price, it sure hasn't. The price has gone up,
It's smashing into all-time highs every day this week. Every day this week, right? Now, we may not hold there coming into the close of the day, and we'll pull it up here in a second, but it hasn't mattered. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter at all. It just doesn't matter to Wall Street. So first of all, we have to learn something that's beyond just the news. Number one. Number two, we learn how to prepare ourselves outside of the market so that we don't react to the market and chase possibility, but we respond to the market and choose probability. That's the difference. You say, oh, Blair, those are you using all these, kind of rhyming words, but what the heck does that really mean? Well, these are the 4 skills that you need to have. You need to understand how to find pivots where stocks change directions in the market. You're not predicting, it's pivot. We do that through pattern. You need to understand who's profitable, who's making money. Okay. They have to tell us this. So profitability, you need to understand how to sift through the propaganda, the things that matter and the things that don't matter. And most of it doesn't matter, FYI. Now, the financial news will never tell you that. Because why? Because they want you to watch unendingly. They want you to watch and they want you to click and they want you to subscribe and the whole deal. So we got to sift through the propaganda. And Dave does an excellent job when he teaches on that, talking about how we do that. And then we have to understand how traders make plans, not predictions, plans, so that they can manage the person, because you're the one driving the car.
There are a lot of people that approach the stock market for the first time, and they come to the market with a plan. If this is you, this will sound familiar. They approach the market similarly to their Christian approach to gambling. What do I mean? If you go to a casino and you're a Christian, or anyone who's worried about losing money in a casino, oftentimes here's what they say: this is my fun money. So I am going to bring $200 and this is all I'm willing to lose. Now, that's a plan. If you think about it, that's a plan. And so people go, well, look, I've got a plan. My plan is I'm going to try out the stock market. I'm going to put a couple $100 into it. And that's all I'm willing to lose. And then if I lose that, then I know, okay, the stock market doesn't really work for me. Here's the problem with that. You are literally walking into the stock market planning to lose.
Basically.
Well, no, that's not what I mean. I don't plan to, I want to win, but what you're doing is you are setting a plan to lose. Now, this sounds like a good idea because we think, well, I'm limiting risk. And so that's what I'm doing. But no one walks into a casino knowing how much they plan to make when they win in a casino. They just go, it's chasing possibility. Like you just said, Blair, right? I'm going to go chase.
Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't, whatever.
And I don't know how much. When we approach the stock market, we have an entry point that we're waiting for. And the market tells us when that entry point is there. We have an exit point for when we're going to take profit. We know how much profit we plan to take. We do know how much we're willing to risk. And we do have a tool that we can put in place to help us limit risk. But there are plans in place before we ever place a trade. And those plans include not just, this is how much I'm willing to lose. No. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Here's how much profit I am pursuing. And here's how much it is worth to me to pursue it. I'm willing to risk this amount to make that amount. And it's no different than starting a business, right? And even in scripture, two of you would go and build a tower without first counting the costs. Like, we should count the cost first. And so there's an element here that you're touching on that's really important, Blair, and that planning is more than just saying, I'm not willing to lose more than this. It's more in depth than that, because you got to know, like, what are the costs, but also what are the goals? What are the objectives? And we do a lot of that here at Tradeways, helping our students know how to recognize exit points.
Totally. And so I said yesterday, we may think trading is something that it's actually not. And as long as we think that it is something that it isn't, then we may block ourselves from what it could be for us.
Right.
If we think it's a casino, if we think it's random, if we think it's a racket, if we think there's absolutely no way. Now, chances are, if you've come this far, you're at least curious as to whether or not that's true, or maybe you know somebody who's made money in the markets or whatever. It's different stories for different folks. But we have to question some of these things and go, hold on. Have I ever learned these 4 main skills? Have I ever really taken a deep dive and looked at them? And as I look at them, if I look at them, then I can assess, well, what could this do for me? Right? That's what we're all about here at Tradeway. So let's pull up the chart here for a second. Okay. Now, this is the S&P 500. Okay. Which is, for those of us that don't know, it's an index of stocks, 500 stocks, in fact. Okay. Some of us have never even seen a price chart before, which is what this is. And these green and red bricks, if you will, we call those candles. Okay. We won't go too far into that right now. We don't really need to, but it just represents what the price of the stock market has been doing. It goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. Most people watch the market. They're like, hey, it's going up. I'm glad. It goes down. Oh, I'm sad. I'm mad. It stinks, and we just feel victimized by whatever it's doing because it feels completely out of our control. And for many of us, we go, well, that doesn't make sense to me anyway. But there are many, many, many people out there participating in the market. And in 2025, it's easier to access good data and learning than ever before. Now, that also means there's a deluge of junk and conflicting information on the internet. So we seek to cut through a lot of that and really focus it in. But with that said, we're looking at a chart that has 500 stocks in one screen. So I don't have to go look at 500. What you're essentially looking at here is the American economy. That's what you're looking at right here. Okay. Now, you want to notice something, okay? I'm going to put, let's go here. Sorry. I'm going to take this rectangle. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to do this. Take an arrow. Okay. And I'll just point. Notice how, oops, sorry guys. Pull that down like so. Okay. Arrow. It hits the bottom line. Goes to the top. Now it just hit the top and dropped back down. Goes up, back down, a little bit sideways, back up, back down, back up. Oh, look, today it's dropping. That long, skinny little line there we call a wick is hitting the ceiling and dropping. That's what it did here. That's what it did here. That's what it did here. Again, we don't predict. We don't know for sure that that's going to happen. I'm just going to do this. Okay. I'm point there. We don't know for sure that's going to happen, but we understand it's higher probability that it will happen. So the market pushing higher. People who looked at the news this week and went, oh man, government shutdown. I guess it's all coming down. They got smoked because they were wrong guessing what it was going to do based on what they felt the news. See, amateurs tell the market what it should do. Okay. Masters flow with what the market is doing at that moment because the chart will tell us. It doesn't lie. It tells us what it's doing right this second.
That's good.
Okay? So once we learn to do that, game changer. Now that's the only one, okay, of the 4 skills. And I'm just giving you a very, very quick little peek at that first skill. Okay.
And there's another thing here too, Blair. There's another thing here too. If you read the news and you said, okay, government shutdown, it's going to go down. Or if you listen to the media and some of their negative bias against what Trump said to the military or what Hegseth said to the military, you would say, okay, well, sounds like, scary stuff. I think it's going to go down. But just what you just pointed out are several other times that this market has gone down when it hit that top line. Guess what? We didn't have a government shutdown the last time it came down off that top line. We didn't have comments about the military last time. So why did it come down? What about the time before that? What about the time before that? So what that tells us,
Correct.
and this is part of our point here, is that a lot of times amateurs will read the news and think, oh, that news will make the market go down. No, the market goes up and it goes down, and the news is somebody's guess as to why. Almost
Yes.
always. You know,
Almost always. Exactly.
the news is responding to the market. It's not the market responding to the news. We get it backwards if we're amateurs, right? So one of the things that you're pointing out here is, hey, why don't you turn off the TV for a second and just look at the data for yourself? You
Learn
know,
how to read the thing that won't lie to you, which is the chart.
the math, right?
Not that we only use a chart. It's not that we only use a chart, but we do use a chart because the chart, listen, they say put your money where your mouth is, right? Well, the market moves up and down based on what investors and traders are doing with their money. It doesn't move unless somebody puts money on the table, right? So they can say, the talking heads on the news can say all they want, okay? And I look at some news. I just don't look at most news. We talk about this in our trading challenge, like what news matters and what news doesn't. It takes a minute. It's not complicated, but it takes a minute to go through. But they are not using the price primarily. You and I can go price. Okay, so Dave makes a great point. It tends to seek to find a reason. By the way, if I see the market just tank, it just drops in the middle of the day, it's going to be 5 or 10 minutes later before this guy right here, okay, tells me why they think it's happening. CNBC alert, blah, 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 blah. I get my little alert, right? And they're going, S&P drops 40 points. And it's like, yeah, I know. I watched it happen in real time 10 minutes ago. This is useless. Dave, I was talking to one of our other coaches. I believe it was the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Okay, there's a CNBC article. You could find it today, guys. If you're watching, you could go out and you could literally find this. I don't really want you to waste your time, but you could still find the article. And he says, basically, dire warning for market participants. And then you open it up and you look at it, and he says, it's possible that maybe the market will have somewhat of a pullback in the next 2 years.
That's a great prediction. It happens all the time.
I think we might get a pullback. It maybe will happen. Maybe it won't. It could happen in the next 24 months. So just so you know, like, by the way, I'm the CEO of a major bank and I just earned my pay. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
you should listen to me.
I just thought that was so goofy.
It's
but
so funny.
Not knowing
other things that happen in the news. And here's an older example, but it's a very powerful example. Back a while back, and this happens frequently, but a while back, there was stress tests on European banks. This was years ago, right? And the news came out because,
I remember this.
Yeah, the market's crashing. And so the news came out to explain why the market was crashing. It was essentially, that 7 out of 99 banks failed the stress tests. And they're saying this is why the market's crashing. 7 out of the 99 banks that were tested failed. And this is bad. This bodes very poorly for the market. This is why the market's crashing. But what they didn't realize was it ended up being one of the best days in trading of the year, because it went down during the first hour of the day, which sometimes that happens. We call it amateur hour for a reason. And then it turned around and went up and became one of the hottest days after that news came out. So they're sitting there saying, oh, the European stress test, this is why the market's crashing. This is doom and gloom. And then the market's screaming up. It made them look terrible. So here's what they did. They took down the article. They renamed it. Same article, put a new headline on it. And this is what the headline said. All but 7 of the European banks passed the stress test. And that's why the market's screaming up. And it's like, oh, really? Seriously?
They're chasing the price. And when we don't know, and Dave and I talk about this a lot in our challenge. By the way, I keep mentioning the challenge. That is part of what we've been talking about all week. I put a link to sign up. 5-day Unlock the Stock Market Challenge. You're going to learn those 4 skills we talk about. Okay, that's 2 hours a day, 5 days. That's 10 hours. Dave and I are going to teach on this. We get deeper into this stuff. We have more time. So you can click that. I think I've got I got a QR code here. So if you want to scan the QR code, you can see all the info on that. It actually starts on Monday. We've got one coming up Monday. So if you haven't learned even what those skills are, this is a very low cost way to come in, learn what those skills are. So click on that. So in that, when people don't know basic financial truths and skills around the stock market in particular, okay, then we read things like that, Dave, and we don't even notice. We're kind of like, oh yeah, okay, it was the stress test.
And we just accept it as truth because somebody who had their article published said so. So they must know what they're
totally.
doing.
They must know more than me, right? Like they must know more than me. I don't know anything. That's how most people listen, Dave. If I said to most people, Dave and I, we both have a securities license. Okay, we're licensed advisors. By the way, Tradeway, all of our coaches are licensed. We're SEC registered. So as a company that does market education, okay, we are a registered with the SEC company. By the way, that doesn't mean the SEC
doesn't mean they endorse us or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But we do think it's important for us doing the kind of training that we do. So that said, the license doesn't teach us to trade. Dave and I didn't learn to trade anything with the license. Okay, that's surprising to most people. So the reason I say that is because we go, well, I got to leave it to Wall Street. Wall Street's the only ones who really know what to do here, right? Like
because they have the license. They must know what they're doing.
Yeah. And so, that's really convenient for them. Honestly, if you believe that still, that's convenient for them because that creates a situation where you are completely dependent on them, which, by the way, side note, Dave, is one of the issues I have right now with all the AI trading conversation, which is really just a lot of people getting sucked in to this idea that, oh, I don't have to do anything. It's going to do it for me. And it's not what people think it is in almost every case right now. So I just say that. But let's look at this chart for a second here. Guys, this is gold. Now, I've got these purple lines on here. Honestly, I should have used gold lines. Let's go ahead and reset. You see that gold was in this box. It just bounces back and forth, back and forth. Finally, it goes on a breakout. Gold is on an absolute tear right now, which is interesting because usually gold is a hedge. When people are not confident in the dollar, they're not confident in the market, they'll move to gold. Now, the market's doing very well. The dollar, on the other hand, not so great. So that's part of what's driving this right here. But notice how it goes up into the ceiling, comes down, up into the ceiling, all the way down, ceiling, all the way down, ceiling, all the way down, ceiling on its way down. Okay. So once again, we have an environment, okay, where it's just hitting the floor and moving up to the ceiling. So what could I do if I learn how to find floor and ceiling? That's what we want to teach you how to do. And then not only that, we want to add a couple other things. You're going to check the boxes. Doesn't have to be complicated, but it can be comprehensive. Where you go, all right, let me find those floor and ceiling scenarios. That could be a game changer for me. But we're also going to add a couple other things to make it even higher probability. Dave and I know there's no guarantee in a trade. Nobody. If you ever are on the internet, for those of you who've never done anything with Tradeway, maybe you will today, maybe you won't. Okay. We think you should. But if you don't, and you're on the internet and you're listening to anybody else, if they're making guarantees, if they're telling you they know the future, if they're sounding like a guru that's trying to predict everything, probability is fine. I will give my opinion on what I think the market is going to do. Okay. But I will state that it is an opinion and it's based on these factors. But at the end of the day, I have zero clue what the market will actually do, at least in 100% certainty kind of way, right? And that's different for stock trading because usually on the internet, it's the exact opposite. So I'm just saying, if in your searches you come across that, from me to you, I would just say I've coached thousands of people. It's pretty much useless to think to listen to that. Okay. Learn something for yourself. Make an investment in yourself.
Yeah. And you mentioned this thing, AI. A lot of people think, well, I'm tired of my financial advisor messing up, so I'm going to take the money away from him, but I lack confidence in my own ability. So I'm going to let AI do it for me. But what they don't realize is that AI was programmed by a human, so it can still make mistakes. And in fact, it does. If you ask AI for financial advice, often it will tell you, hey, AI can make mistakes. You need to seek the help and advice of a financial advisor. Like AI will tell you that. And yet I
literally have a screenshot on my phone, Dave, of that exact thing.
Yes.
Keep going. I'm going to try to find it.
Sure. And here's the thing is that we go, oh, but AI, it's the future. Maybe it's not nearly as futuristic as people think yet. Right. And even when it is, it's still going to be programmed by humans. And so there's still going to be a human bias element to it. I'm not against AI. I think, don't get me wrong, I think AI is a very powerful tool, and it can help leverage the abilities of the humans that are using it. But if you go and give your money to an AI robot, if the data set is old, if it's not even trained for changing markets, because markets change and no two markets are the same, then you could find yourself in a strategy that works for it a little bit of a time, a little bit of a season. And everybody's like, yeah, AI is awesome. It works. I knew it. And then they blow up an account. It happens all the time. Then there are scams. Then there are people using AI terminology to get you to give them your money and say, hey, we're going to let AI do the thing. And then you can't get your money back out, no matter how hard you try. We personally know people that have been through that. And so don't just trade a financial advisor for a robot financial advisor. Educate yourself a little bit. And then if you want to use AI to leverage where you lack, that's not a bad idea. There are ways to do it, safe ways to do it. We discuss sometimes some of these things in our challenge. But Blair, we're almost out of time here. Why don't we talk a little bit about what can I do over the weekend to prepare for trading next week? You mentioned we got to be active when the market's closed. What can we do to be prepared when the market is closed?
Yeah, so a couple of things. It's a bit of a tricky question to answer in one sense, because the first thing I would go into is based on understanding those 4 skills, right?
Yep.
It's based on, well, where do I begin to implement my skills?
Yep.
To take a little step back from that is to say, while the market is closed, this would be true on a Tuesday night, okay? But it's true on a Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You go, okay, I'm going to prepare now for the week. Traders prepare, amateurs react, okay?
Yep.
We move from a system, or we move from an emotion. The emotion is not, we're going to have them, but it's not a good place to lead. Preparation is what we want to lead. So understanding how to prepare for the week. Now, we've said this a lot, but preparation is not prediction. Preparation is preparation. Preparation looks for probability, okay? Emotion looks for guarantee, which doesn't exist in life, by the way, not just the stock market. Some people are like, oh, I want a guarantee. You don't get that on anything in life.
Right.
There's nothing in life that you do the things, I do the things I do in areas that I care about in order to raise the probability of the outcome I most desire, spiritually, maritally, with my children, with my career, anything. People pay obscene amounts of money, Dave, for college to what? To raise the probability of the outcome they want. It's not a guarantee. It's raising the probability. The stock market just puts that in front of our face, and we can get offended at that, or we can recognize everything works that way. We have to learn the skill. See, if we think trading something that it's not, then we don't look at what's possible for us the way we could if we knew that it was what it actually is. So what we can do to prepare, okay, is first of all, learn the skill, okay? then we know what we're preparing. But I'll
Yep.
give you an example. I just showed a pattern. Okay. The first thing I would want to do is go in Saturday, Sunday, the market's closed. So it's going to be the same either day in terms of the weekend. And I want to go, okay, let me start to go through a watch list that we have. We'll talk about that in the challenge. How do I build a watch list? What is a watch list? And then I'm going to narrow that down. I don't want 50 things on my watch list. I just want a couple. A couple. Yep. Are they good setups, patterns? Do they check the boxes that I need them to check? Okay. Mm-hmm. And do I see them near the floor, giving me a good entry? If so, they may not be at the floor, but they might be near that. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to use some tools to set some alerts and alarms for me so that they let me know what they're doing through the week that's coming. And if they do those things, now I'm ready to employ those skills that I'm learning, but I'm responding to it, not just reacting emotionally to the price. Generally speaking, that is how I'm going to prepare. I'm also going to prepare my mind because I'm a human being and I have emotions and I have beliefs around money. So I'm going to prepare that. Okay. Dave talks about this a lot here at Tradeway. It's not just trading. People have a brokerage account. They think they're a trader, right? That's what the financial industry wants you to believe. But it's really thinking differently because traders think a certain way. You have to become that person. And you can. We believe that. But that is how I prepare for the week, not just sort of, as you said, Dave, I'm just going to put some money in an account and give it a go. You're trying to do something that you haven't learned how to do yet. And then if it doesn't make you money, then you're going, well, trading didn't work, except that were you ever actually trading if you didn't know the 4 main skills?
Exactly.
Right? So and give yourself the ability.
Yeah. And so when you get into the weekend, what do? We prepare by looking for maybe patterns like Blair talked about, right? Can we see a place where the stock tends to move up? Might be getting close to that place. Now we have something to look for. Why do we do it on the weekend like this when the market's closed like this? Because things aren't moving. And if things aren't moving, you're not caught up in the emotional excitement of, oh, I'm missing it. Oh no, I'm going to miss the trade. So it gives you the ability to look at a trade more objectively. Use the weekend, use the aftermarket hours to look at the market objectively. Find those patterns. We talk about what those patterns look like. How can we identify them? How do we know they're real patterns and not fake ones in our challenge? So then have a plan. What's your plan? Well, what's your plan if the market does what you think it's going to do? How much do you plan to take out of the market? Your little out of the middle, as Blair likes to say. Have you put a price on that? How much are you willing to risk in order to get that price? So what is the amount that you would stop out of a trade for? These are things that are important to recognize before you ever get into the trade. And then, like Blair said, there are certain news items that if we read them, we think it's the market responding to the news. That's typically not the case. And ironically enough, with the government shutdown the way it is, there are some news items that are important that the market needs to know that it doesn't get to know until the government starts back up again. Things like unemployment numbers, inflation numbers, things of that nature. Those are the things that the market is flying blind on. So you got Jerome Powell over at the Federal Reserve, who typically makes decisions on interest rates and things of that nature based on the reporting that the government does, but the government doesn't get to report. So there are some things that matter. Most of it doesn't. And the things that do matter, we don't get right now. So we use this time to look for the patterns, look for what is possible in the market, and then go, okay, anything's possible. So actually what we do is we go, we know what's possible, what is probable in the market. And so then once you know what's probable, there's a good probability that this stock will move up from where it was. Now I know what I will do if it does go up. Now I know what I'll do if it goes down against me. So then you're ready to act on Monday. So one of the things that we do at Tradeway is we lay out an entire plan for you, an entire strategy so that you know exactly what to do pre-trade, during trade, and post-trade. And that's something that we talk extensively about in the Unlock the Stock Market Challenge. If you guys haven't already registered, we start that on Monday. Part of your weekend prep could be get registered for the challenge so you can get a little bit more knowledge about what you're doing when you approach the market. Part of your weekend prep could be, hey, I've got a very low risk way to increase what I know is going on. And that low risk way is the challenge. We have a actually a 10x better than money back guarantee on the challenge, which means you attend and do everything that we ask you to do, like keep the camera on, engage, do the chat and stuff. By the end of the challenge, you will receive over $1,000 worth of home study course material to further your knowledge, whether you do anything else with us or not. And if you didn't like it, you get your money back. So it's a almost instant 10x return on your investment. You should check it out. Blair, we're done. We're already past the 30-minute mark. You have any parting words before we go?
Well, we do all that because we understand that when you're just looking at different things on the internet, you go, well, who do I really want to trust? Well, what we do is we go, hey, let's slow down. Let's take some time together, not just a couple of sessions, but we'll spend a week together. Okay. Let's give you guys some real training. Okay. This isn't just a week of marketing. You're going to learn what are those skills? What is trading? What do traders really do? Okay. And then we're going to pour into that. That's what we do. So that's what I would say is a big deal. Coming to the end of the week, looks like the shutdown just doesn't matter. It may matter more as time goes on. We'll see. Of course, that'll come up Monday and the price will tell us. The price will tell us. You guys have a QR code on the screen. Okay. Also, I've sent this out to our Facebook and YouTube friends out there. I've got that link there, so you can always click on that there, but you can scan the QR code. That's it for this week. We're going to wrap it up here. Dave, I'm going to actually be watching the close here the last hour of the day. So we'll go do that. And we'll leave this open for a minute for those that want to get the link or the QR. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks, Dave.
See you guys.